they just aren't available to talk with us. In these cases, information on how to get assistance was left at the residence, including instructions on how to call 211 for assistance. I will say just yesterday I asked for an update on homes, and we did have one more home that has been added to the system that has not been visited yet, and my staff and the local emergency operations center is following up with that one residence to make sure that they have the commodities that they need. As of April 27, 2016, 88.7% of the 5,658 apartments have been visited by water response teams. 100% of those apartments visited have been confirmed to have water filters. The 11.3% are confirmed to be vacant. That has been confirmed with apartment management, MISHDA, and HUD. As of April 27, 2016, the total quantity of commodities distributed, now this does not include all the donations as much as we would have liked to have tracked every donation come in. During emergencies and disasters, it's just almost impossible to get all the donations to filter through one entity. So there were a lot of other donations that were being distributed. These amounts include 11,123,433 liters of water, which is approximately 926,953 cases of water. 116,041 NSF International Certified Water Filters, 251,180 water filter cartridges, and 47,127 water testing kits. The state, county, and city continue to operate points of distribution at 4 fire stations. Currently, all commodities continue to be distributed at these points of distribution. 3 additional community points of distribution have been opened and are staffed with Flint residents that the state has hired under a grant. These 3 community pods are in the city's 1st, 3rd, and 6th wards. 2 additional training pods have been set up. They are not publicized because these are new workers that we're hiring, and this is a way for us to put them through some additional training before we actually go live and get a lot of citizens going through those pods. As of April 12, 2016, a list of 1,023 residents, and this number changes as the needs change, that are homebound, access and functional needs, and cannot get commodities, are visited by rapid response teams. These residents are visited approximately every 5 to 7 days on a repeating cycle. These individuals are visited sooner as needed. The list of these individuals was compiled using lists from various organizations, including Meals on Wheels, Aging and Adult Services Agency, and Valley Area Agency on Aging, or VAAA, memory impaired and skilled nursing facilities, non-subsidized independent living, subsidized independent living, assisted living facilities, VAAA enrollment 2015, VAAA homebound list, and VAAA Michigan Choice. Flint residents also can call 211 or 866-561-2500 if they need assistance. This assistance includes installing water filters and delivering water. The 211 call line was first utilized starting in October 2015. The United Way oversees and funds the 211 call line. In addition, on January 8, 2016, the Genesee County Sheriff's Office implemented a hotline to assist homebound and others needing water, water filter installs, faucet replacements, and other related services. Lists of 211 calls from citizens who need assistance with water or filters are received daily by the local Emergency Operations Center. The local Emergency Operations Center now receives the list via email 4 or 5 times daily with updates. The lists contain names, addresses, telephone numbers, and the details as to what specifically is needed. Teams report to the local EOC every morning and are given their delivery lists. The addresses are mapped to ensure efficiency, and the teams check back in midday and are provided additional addresses if their lists are completed or close to being completed for that day. The 211 teams are currently comprised of American Red Cross and just recently the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC, transitioned out. The Sheriff's Department and our warehouse staff are currently picking up those calls for service during the transition. We do have other organizations that are going to be coming in to assist us. The teams, upon making personal contact, determine whether the resident needs to be added to the access and functional needs list. American Red Cross teams in the field have also received information concerning others who have potential functional needs or access needs, and that information is relayed back through the local emergency operations center. Updates to the access functional needs list are emailed to the State Emergency Operations Center on a daily basis. The 211 system is also being updated to cross-reference whether someone is already on the AFN list, so they can be advised of their next delivery date by the American Red Cross. Some upcoming and planned operations in Flint that fall under my purview. Additional community pods in the remaining wards are scheduled to open through May. I believe right now, May 20th is the last scheduled date when they will all be open. I'm trying to get that back to the May 10th date I originally had, but we kind of ran into some contractual issues and memorandums of understanding. But I'm going to continue to get that date back up. We have hired and trained, we, meaning the state I should say, have hired and trained 81 of 81 personnel that are needed to staff those community pods. They're not all trained up yet. We have names in those positions, but we'll continue to train them up so we can open these community pods as quickly as possible. As community pods are opened, the fire station pods will close. This transition will provide more points of distribution, 9 total, than previously available, as well as being more efficient and commodity distribution. The community pods and community distribution will continue until it's no longer needed. 5 hubs for resources are also being developed in coordination with community organizations. These hubs will provide water and water resources as long as a water mission exists. In the long term, hubs will be centers where mental health and physical health resources and referrals are available, as well as crisis counseling and food resources, and educational resources will also be available. Sir, that concludes my remarks, and I will take any questions unless you're waiting until the other statements are ready, sir.
Commissioners, if it's okay, my sense is that if we continue to hear, because there may be some crossover questions that we would have that may impact emergency management, but also may impact LARA or may impact Department of Education. So with that, Stephanie, if you could share with us your comments.
Thank you, and good evening. Again, my name is Stephanie Comey. I'm the director of the Michigan Talent Investment Agency. I welcome the opportunity to be here to share what my agency is doing to promote workforce development in the city of Flint in conjunction with our local and federal partners. First, let me just briefly outline the job of the Talent Investment Agency, also known as TIA. TIA's mission is to integrate new workers into the economy and help those workers who have been in or out of the workforce transition into new jobs. So we coordinate programs related to job preparedness, career-based education, worker training, employment assistance, and unemployment insurance benefits. And that is the basis of TIA's mission here in Flint, where we're supporting the community through a comprehensive strategy that is putting citizens of Flint on the path to employment. While I'm proud of the assistance that my agency is providing here in Flint, I want to be clear that our role in TIA is one of coordination and oversight. The actual work at the local level is being done by our partners, such as the Michigan State Police, Michigan National Guard, and very importantly, GST Michigan Works, as well as many community and faith-based organizations, many of whom Captain Kalinsky referenced. In fact, I would like to point out, we do have a representative here today from GST Michigan Works, Mary Laura Hammond. She is. So if commissioners or others, members of the audience, have questions about the work being done, how they can apply for one of the available jobs, Mary Laura Hammond, Ms. Hammond is happy to help with that. So the centerpiece of the Flint strategy is made possible by a 2-year, $15 million grant from the U.S. Department of Labor called the National Dislocated Worker Grant. This dislocated worker grant helps create temporary employment opportunities to assist with cleanup and recovery efforts when an area impacted by a disaster is declared eligible for such assistance. The declarations are made by the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, or otherwise recognized by a federal agency with authority or jurisdiction over federal response to the emergency or disaster. My team began working on the grant application earlier this year and was approved by the U.S. Department of Labor on March 31st. An initial allocation of $7.5 million was awarded. An additional $7.5 million can be requested once 70% of the original award has been obligated. And this funding, the total $15 million, is available through March 31st, 2018. The National Dislocated Worker Grant supports activities put in place by the State of Michigan Emergency Operation Management Team, which established, as Captain Kalinsky mentioned, a local emergency operations center here in Flint. The Michigan State Police, Michigan National Guard, FEMA, and other agencies are operating the center to ensure water and filters are distributed to Flint residents. There are two phases to the grant that I am talking about today. Phase 1 is about developing temporary jobs that benefit Flint residents affected by the water crisis. This is being done by employing workers who are Flint residents on projects that provide emergency water, water filters, lead testing kits, and replacement cartridges. Other aspects of this first phase include providing support services to those who are placed into the temporary jobs, and providing support for temporary jobs through the warehousing and transporting of water and commodities. The structured temporary jobs programs allows workers to spend time on learning employment skills. Reemployment activities that are part of the temporary jobs program include connecting temporary workers with local employers, implementing structured skill-building activities around equipment use and safety, offering soft skill activities at work sites to build job readiness, and using any downtime to provide career planning assistance. In addition to the local recovery effort through temporary jobs for humanitarian purposes, there will be a range of broader workforce services directly connected to the temporary jobs programs. This will assist participants in finding permanent employment as part of Phase 2. And Phase 2 involves working with employers, the city, and stakeholders, such as community-based organizations, to identify permanent, in-demand positions for these temporary workers to transition into. The plan is to serve 400 dislocated workers and long-term unemployed who reside in Flint. The U.S. Department of Labor defines who is eligible for assistance with this grant. Long-term unemployed are those who have been out of work for more than 20 non-consecutive weeks in the last 5 years. Specialized temporary jobs may only be filled by non-residents, but residing in Genesee County if no qualified Flint resident can be identified and are eligible as dislocated workers or long-term unemployed. Again, TIA is partnering with GST Michigan Works as the project operator. Action Management is the current service provider contracted by GST, which provides services for participants who are eligible and enrolled in the project. Action Management also serves as an employer of record and provides services in conjunction with GST. Temporary workers will perform specific water crisis-related work along with the other work consistent with the core mission of the local emergency operations center. This means providing allowable humanitarian relief employment on projects that provide assistance to Flint residents affected by the water crisis. Other allowable activities under this federal grant include cleanup and recycling, the repair, renovation, and reconstruction of damaged water lines as it relates to the crisis. Damage assessment of the water system infrastructure, service line, and residential plumbing may also be needed, and these funds are available to assist. These temporary jobs are fairly well paying, with the average wage at $12 an hour. Participants are provided with support services deemed necessary for them to complete their assignments, such as transportation, work clothes, and tools. Since the program began April 1st, we've had nearly 107 temporary workers hired. Most of the workers are at the point of distribution centers that Captain Kalinsky referenced, although there are many other positions that include such things as administration and transportation. We anticipate this program will have a significant positive economic impact on the city. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation estimates the economic benefits from these temporary jobs will be $12.5 million of personal income and $24 million in goods and services. So I hope that gives you a good understanding of the talent development efforts here underway in Flint. We are generating a lot of collaboration and positive momentum that's serving the city well during this very challenging time. Thank you again for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Stephanie Kamai. Appreciate it. If Shelley Edgerton wants to go next, or Kyle Durant. Okay, great. Mr. Grant.
Thank you. My name is Kyle Grant, Deputy Superintendent at the Michigan Department of Education. And thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to share the efforts MD, in partnership with federal, state, and local entities, are undertaking to address the health and educational needs of the children of Flint. Since Governor Snyder's emergency declaration, MD has been focused on 4 primary areas to support Flint area students and their families. They include school water testing and water source fixture replacement, increased access to healthy foods, increased access to school-based health services through school nursing, and providing quality early learning opportunities to all Flint area birth to 4-year-olds. We work closely with our partners at large to identify water fountains, sinks, and other water sources in the school environment to test and replace fixtures. It's a complex and time-consuming process, and we sincerely thank the LARA team's hard work to expeditiously address the over 1,000 water fixtures in need of replacement. My colleague Shelley will provide greater detail in her presentation shortly. Another big focus for us has been how do we provide increased access to healthy foods for Flint youth. We know good nutrition, especially foods high in concentrations of vitamin C, calcium, and iron, works to minimize the absorption of lead into the body. MD has been working with the U.S. Department of Agriculture Child Nutrition Program sponsors in Genesee County to maximize participation in all federal child nutrition programs available to them as a means of increasing exposure to healthy foods as well as nutrition education. This includes signing eligible districts up for the community eligibility provision, allocating carryover USDA commodity foods, and maximizing best practices to increase participation in school breakfast and school lunch programs. A few that I'd like to highlight include USDA's additional resources provided to help Flint area children in supplying additional fresh fruits and vegetables, serving students in pre-K through 8 school buildings in the county. MD has worked with the USDA to determine schools that were eligible but not yet participating, and has received permission and direction from the USDA to move forward with the program for the remainder of this school year as well as next. It's important to note that many Flint area pre-K-8 schools are already participating in the fresh fruit and vegetable program, including Flint Community Schools. These additional resources have just allowed us to provide additional fresh fruit and vegetable options to more students. Our food distribution unit has been working to determine the types of USDA commodities that all of our school food service authorities in the county have been purchasing to identify which foods they are purchasing and which are high in the 3 targeted nutrients that I mentioned, calcium, iron, and vitamin C, and will provide technical assistance to each of those to increase those purchases for the remainder of this school year and into the future. Additional food commodity entitlement has been identified and reallocated to over 20 school food authorities in the county, specifically those that are in the affected zip codes in the Flint community. Earlier this month, we redistributed over $650,000 worth of USDA food commodities to those 20 school food providers, and we'll continue to recruit additional providers that have not taken advantage of this, as we have approximately another $350,000 in food commodities that we have donated or have contributed to the county. MD is working collaboratively with the National Let's Move Salad Bars in Schools initiative to target salad bars in schools in the affected zip codes. To date, 20 salad bars have been pledged by private donors, including the Blue Cross and Blue Shield in Michigan, and MD is working to identify those schools and currently in need of the equipment. To date, 11 salad bars have been delivered to Flint Community School buildings as of early April 2016. 4 additional salad bars have been ordered and are on their way to Madison Academy Elementary School, Madison Academy High School, New Standard Academy, and St. John Vianney Catholic School. The White House has expressed extreme interest in this approach and has pledged to help us identify additional resources for schools that say they would like to implement this program. Additional Emergency Food Assistance Program Disaster Commodities, or TFAP as it's known, has been requested by the USDA, targeting additional good source, of those targeted nutrients. Upon approval, the TPAP disaster food packages will be distributed by the Genesee County Community Action Resource Department, or GCARD, and the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan through their regular distribution channels. Across our child nutrition programs, we are providing additional nutritional education and information both for students, families, and providers that are providing meals to those students and families. For instance, we're working in our child and adult care food program with at-risk after-school meal providers in the targeted zip codes to determine ways to serve meals in the evenings and on weekends. Many sponsors have expressed interest in doing this, and MD is helping to assist in removing current barriers such as extending licensing for those facilities into the weekends. Finally, as we head into the summer months, students that are used to accessing school meal programs at school, hunger doesn't go away during that time period, and so we work to beef up our summer food service program operation in terms of the number of sponsors in the county and sites where it will be accessible, trying to cut down on distances between population centers and these food sites so students can still receive healthy meals during the summer. Furthermore, we've received a $1.2 million grant from the USDA in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services called the Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer Card Grant. Over 15,000 children in Flint will receive an EBT card that will provide monthly resources for them to purchase, for them or their families, to purchase foods, again, high in those three nutrients: calcium, iron, and vitamin C. Another area of focus has been increased access to school-based health services, primarily through school nursing. 9 additional school nurses have been hired in the Flint Community Schools via contract through Catalyst Health Solutions. Those nurses began working in buildings this month. With these 9 additional nurses, Flint Community Schools meets the national standard of 1 school nurse for every 750 students, which is the national nurse to student recommendation. Their primary role is to provide case management for students with chronic illnesses and high blood lead levels. They are also vital in coordinating care with health service providers operating in and outside of the school environment. In partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services, we're also adding additional schools to our existing Child Analysis Health Center program. In partnership with the University of Michigan, we will serve as the lead agency for expanding these services and will create a network of sites within the Flint community. Currently, Northwestern High School, which has a long-standing Child Analysis Health Center, has established community partnership relationships and will serve as the primary hub for this work. 3 to 5 additional schools surrounding Northwestern will serve as satellite sites and implement the school wellness program, which includes over 30 hours a week of school nurse staffing and 40 hours a week of a master's level mental health professional. Providing quality early learning opportunities to all Flint area 0 to 4-year-olds is important to support the long-term educational needs of Flint area children. Early On Michigan offers early intervention services for infants and toddlers birth to 3 years of age with developmental delays and/or disabilities and their families. Research has shown that by addressing delays early on, especially between birth to 3, we can more effectively impact the child's development. These services are provided in collaboration with the Genesee Intermediate School District, who has received additional resources to build capacity to effectively serve more Flint children. We work closely to do early on public awareness and child find campaigns and identify different outreach methods to reach out to Flint families to let them know that this service is available. We also discussed ways to handle the influx of referrals and how to manage the increase in assessment. To date, over 300 children have been served with additional screening and placement within programs to address the identified needs. Great Start Readiness Program is Michigan's state-funded preschool program for 4-year-old children with factors which may place them at risk for educational failure. Funding is allocated to each intermediate school district, in this case Genesee ISD, to administer the program locally. Research on preschool programs, specifically research on our GSRP program, indicates that children provided with high-quality preschool experience show significant positive development differences when compared to children from similar backgrounds who do not attend a high-quality preschool program. Both the Genesee ISD and the community schools have opened 3 additional GSRP classrooms this month. Both districts are conducting increased public awareness efforts, including door-to-door recruitment, to ensure Flint area families are aware of this important service. For many families, the cost of safe, quality child care can affect the family budget. The Child Development Care Program offers payment assistance for child care services for family when a parent is not able to provide child care because of employment or high school completion. The current Senate Bill 777 supplemental requests additional dollars to increase the number of Flint area families eligible for this program, and those resources are enough to eliminate the income eligibility levels that are in statute, so that way all Flint children will be eligible to participate in this program once that bill is passed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the leadership of the Flint Community Schools and the Genesee Intermediate School District. Superintendent Lisa Hagel and Superintendent Tawab have been great and worked tirelessly with us and with other state and federal partners to increase the services available to students in their care. Thank you for the opportunity to present, and I look forward to answering any questions about our response from the commission members.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Shelley Edgerton from the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs.
Thank you, members of the Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about the actions of the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Laura is taking to respond to the crisis in Flint and help those who are affected and to ensure the health and safety of the citizens of our state. Laura is near completion on an initiative to replace water fixtures in over 200 Flint facilities that serve vulnerable populations, including the schools, that's public, private, and parochial, child daycare centers, adult foster care centers, and other health facilities, in particular a nursing home and other identified licensed health facilities within the city. This effort is to help ensure safe drinking water to our infants, kids, and elderly as part of our strong partnership with other partners of the state, DEQ and MDE, as Kyle said. The City of Flint, Flint Community Schools, Delta Faucet Company, and in particular Plumber and Pipe Fitters Local 370, and Flint Health and Education community members. The purpose of this program was to ensure that all drinking water fixtures in our schools, the large daycares, adult foster care, and nursing homes met the new 2014 standards devised by EPA. Our original goal was to have about 90% of the fixtures and faucets in the schools by April 1st, and about 90% of the fixtures in the remaining facilities by May 1st. That was our goal. To date, we're well ahead of schedule of that. As of today, we have, in the schools, we've installed 927 fixtures. We have, at this point, only one facility we need to be into, and we had some difficulty scheduling time, and that is the Flint Youth Theater that we will be in, and actually that's scheduled for today, so that should be completed within the next 2 days, barring any unforeseen circumstances. We have one faucet left in the Michigan School for the Deaf. It's a special order.
This new mom is struggling to get the skates just right. And now she's holding on for dear life. Her kids can see she may have broke her knees. They still love her though she looks like she's attacked by killer bees. I'm allergic. Proof you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Look at this guy. What are you gonna do, kid? Go home. It's hopeless. Yeah.
Will be eligible to participate in this program once that bill is passed. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the leadership of the Flint Community Schools and the Genesee Intermediate School District. Superintendent Lisa Hagel and Superintendent Tawad have been great and worked tirelessly with us and with other state and federal partners to increase the services available to students in their care. Thank you for the opportunity to present, and I look forward to answering any questions about our response from the commission members.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Shelley Edgerton from the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs.
Thank you, members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about the actions of the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Laura is taking to respond to the crisis in Flint and help those who are affected and to ensure the health and safety of the citizens of our state. Laura is near completion on an initiative to replace water fixtures in over 200 Flint facilities that serve vulnerable populations, including the schools, that's public, private, and parochial, child daycare centers, adult foster care centers, and other health facilities, in particular a nursing home and other identified licensed health facilities within the city. This effort is to help ensure safe drinking water to our infants, kids, and elderly as part of our strong partnership with other partners of the state, DEQ and MDE, as Kyle said. The City of Flint, Flint Community Schools, Delta Faucet Company, and in particular Plumber and Pipe Fitters Local 370, and Flint Health and Education community members. The purpose of this program was to ensure that all drinking water fixtures in our schools, the large daycares, adult foster care, and nursing homes met the new 2014 standards devised by EPA. Our original goal was to have about 90% of the fixtures and faucets in the schools by April 1st, and about 90% of the fixtures in the remaining facilities by May 1st. That was our goal. To date, we're well ahead of schedule of that. As of today, we have, in the schools, we've installed 927 fixtures. We have, at this point, only one facility we need to be into, and we had some difficulty scheduling time, and that is the Flint Youth Theater that we will be in, and actually that's scheduled for today, so that should be completed within the next 2 days, barring any unforeseen circumstances. We have one faucet left in the Michigan School for the Deaf. It's a special order, so it's taking a little time for us to get it from the manufacturer. We had one school that didn't participate because they're in a leased facility and they're closing out of that leased facility. Child care facilities, we have 100% installed. It's 225 fixtures we've installed. In the adult foster care, we are at 100% and we have 137 fixtures installed in those varying facilities. Healthcare facilities, we are 100% complete. Overall, we've installed 1,351 fixtures at this point in the program. And like I said, we are well ahead of our schedule to be done. We actually will be completed, we believe, with everything by next week, early next week. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our partners in this effort, the City of Flint, Mayor Weaver, General McDaniel. They work very closely with us on the permitting issues, in particular at the school, Superintendent Tawab and the Service Director, Tony Sitko, who ensured that the installation didn't disrupt school activities. I'd also like to thank our corporate partners, Masco and Delta, as well as Amway for all their assistance in providing us materials. In particular, again, our partners and really the team of plumbers that were responsible for a lot of the installations, the plumber and pipe fitters, Local 370, Harold Harrington and Ben Ranger and their team of plumbers who, without their assistance, could not have facilitated this in as quick as fashion. And then, again, many members of the health and education communities for working on us in the schools. I just like to thank for the opportunity to present these facts to the commission and to the audience, and look forward to answering any questions.
Well, thank you again, Captain Kolensky and Stephanie Kamai and Kyle Durant and Shelley Edgerton for your presentations, for the work that I know you are putting into this particular situation, and people who work both with you, over you, under you, alongside of you. We recognize that it's a daunting challenge that's beyond probably what most of us will ever experience or would ever want to experience in our lives. The way this is set up is essentially commissioners will have an opportunity to ask you some questions, questions that may relate to particulars in the reports or updates that you shared. They may want to ask questions of you based on what they had heard. Some of you may have heard as well from residents of Flint that may relate to issues of water or health or educational, talking with kids or whatever it may be. So the way I would like to do it, if it's all right, is if I could start with Mumtaz, Commissioner Hike, if you can get started with any questions that you may have, and then I'll just kind of work it, and commissioners will, they're not shy. If they have questions, they will ask you, I'm sure. Thanks. Commissioner Hike.
Thank you to all of you for coming. This is the first time I'm speaking. It was very emotional listening to all the testimonies, and also to just absorbing them, understanding, and applaud all of you, various department representatives, for being here and working so diligently to address the issues. My first question, actually, I have quite a few questions. My first question is to Captain Kolensky. You mentioned that needs assessment is done. And my question is, how is it planned? The needs assessment of water need, food need, nutrition. Mainly right now I'm just thinking about the basic needs. So is there a team that really goes to different areas? How is it?
Yeah, I was referring to other disasters when I talked about damage assessments that were being done, and just so I'm clear, it's not an actual, we go out and do a needs assessment. The way the Emergency Management Act works is that things start at the local level, and when there's something needed at the local level, they go to that local emergency operations center. And they say, this is the need we have, and then they try to fill that resource with what they have or what they can contract to receive. And if they don't have it, then it gets pushed up to the state emergency operations center. So in this case, this is when you saw the activation of the National Guard came in, the community pods that are being established. Actually right now we're looking for traffic cones that can be provided at the local level. So we're looking for 140 more traffic cones, but the needs that are out there get pushed up from that local emergency operations center. That can come from a multitude of different avenues. That's the boots on the ground locally is coordinated through that center, and then we're there to supplement the needs that they have. Does that help? Yeah?
Yes, very helpful. And I'm just thinking in my mind, there are various sources, as you stated, federal funding, state funding, and in addition to that, there are other sources, organizations from beyond the city of Flint that are coming with resources. Now, where is the account, where is the where are the checks and balances? I'm just thinking, because we just heard that they're not receiving the resources that are needed. So my question is, how is it, how are checks and balances maintained in terms of the needs being met and the resources that, in terms of funding, the dollar amount that we have received? I'm just trying to understand that. If you could just address that.
So during emergencies and disasters, there's a lot of different avenues where things can come in. To speak to the funding piece, some of the funding is legislative, and the state budget office tracks those. The resources that we push down from the State Emergency Operations Center, we track those in conjunction with the state budget office. But if there's funding that is donated to United Way or Red Cross, we don't have anything to do with tracking that. Any money that is provided to the city through an appropriation, I don't have anything to do with that once it's turned over to the city or any other organization. As far as accountability from my mission, because this is a unique event, it's the commodities piece. So this is why when you hear, and I've heard this before about asking for IDs, the only information that we need is an address. And to be honest, if somebody refuses to give us an address, we record it as a refusal and we move on. Because I have to be able to tell the federal government when they come and say, what did you do with X millions of dollars? I can say, well, these are the commodities we purchased, and FEMA tracks those. So FEMA brings commodities in, they're staged at a location in Michigan, and then when we need resources, we pull from that. So they're tracking commodities, and then we track commodities as they go out. We've been doing this since day one. We're not asking for any driver's licenses. I think where the confusion came into play is at the pods, occasionally someone say, if you have your driver's license, just hand it to me, and so they could write the address down. We've never written any names down. It's all been address and commodities, and that's how we've been tracking that piece of it. And I apologize, ma'am, was there a follow-up, or did I miss a piece of your question?
Yes, you did. That's my question. And my recommendation is it possible to include the community organization representatives in terms of getting access to the needs, because they know their community, and maybe forming a committee of the leaders from various organizations or groups to give you the needs assessment of their community. Would that be possible?
So there are community groups out there. I have some of my staff on those community groups, but that goes back to what I mentioned before about those needs being pushed to us from the local EOC. That's not state agencies. The local emergency operations center has representatives from the county as well as the city that participate in that. We are very engaged with those organizations like the Red Cross, United Way, the food bank. And we currently do deliver commodities to the food bank. I believe the last time I had gotten an update from staff, 6 semis a day of water were going to the food bank. They in turn distribute it. So we are engaged with those community organizations, and they have been a huge piece of this, just as in any disaster and emergency. So we are engaged with them. We are engaged with some of the community groups that have been formed out there. But clearly, anytime we hear complaints or needs that are being missed, it tells me that we need to and we have to do better. And we will conduct an after-action report, as we do with every disaster and emergency, and we will see where we may have fell short in this, not just the state, but also at the local level.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunt, do you have any questions for any of our state representatives here?
Yes, I just had a question with regards to distribution. You mentioned that it started off with 5 fire stations, I believe. So how many distribution locations are there now? And during some of the testimonies earlier, it was asked, why can't water be distributed to certain locations? Maybe you're going to be at ABC Park, and people in that neighborhood could get there, or just going down that street. And I know you said there are people who are getting water distributed, but it didn't sound like it from many of the testimonies that a lot of that was happening.
And I hope during the after-action report process, we will maybe see if there was something we missed. I will say the intent from the beginning was to get those filters in the home. They were selected because they filter out the lead and other things. The water mission, this is a very lengthy water mission as far as distribution of water, even from a federal standard, as it relates to emergencies and disasters. That was the reasoning for getting all the filters out there. So the primary source would be the filtered water, with the bottled water being supplemental source. But also knowing that there's certain circumstances where people who are pregnant, breastfeeding, or under the age of 6, or maybe there's some other needs that they have. That's why we continue with that mission. During an emergency or disaster recovery, we want to stay as consistent as possible without moving the locations and distribution points. The fire stations were set up initially because that was early on in the disaster. And as I mentioned in my opening comments, the intent is to stabilize this as best we can. So the fire stations were used. They aren't the best location, and anybody that has gone to some of those fire stations, number 6 specifically, traffic flow, they're just not set up for that, which is why we're going to the community pods, which actually follow federal standards for establishing points of distribution so people can just drive through and we can get them those commodities. To answer your question as to the number of pods established, so we did have 5, we now have 4. We closed the one that I have had concerns with from the get-go as far as from a safety standpoint. So we have 4 fire station pods open, we have 3 community pods open, which now gets us to 7 of them. We have 2 training pods open. We're not publicizing, but they're out there. And eventually those will be open. And eventually we will have 9 pods, 1 in each ward, to drive those commodities into the communities more versus just the 5 fire stations that were originally put in place. And this is outside of the church or the faith-based organizations, the volunteer group. So this is just from the state commodity distribution points. There's other organizations that are volunteering and assisting. I heard a gentleman earlier mention, if I heard him right, I believe it's maybe in front of his house, or he had some different commodities there.
So how are we updating the residents about all the different changes in distribution, especially those who don't speak English very well? We heard a lot from our Hispanic, the Arab community. So how are we communicating to them? We've heard that loud and clear today.
So communication is always difficult. I will say that we have translated a lot of documents that are posted on the website. There was information at the points of distribution, and there were a multitude of languages. And licensing and regulatory affairs may be able to help more, but Arabic, Chinese, Hmong, obviously Spanish. And we also had, when we found out that we were missing a group, I know with the Hispanic, the Latino community when we heard there were some concerns there. We did push some commodities to Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. The information is out there in a multitude of media, online. When we move pods, we have a few days before we move them, we were putting stickers on the cases of water to say, you know, the pod is moving, we're going to this location. There's a multitude of sources out there, ma'am. I don't have a list in front of me. But we do really rely on our community partners to assist us with the push of information that gets out there.
Commissioner Voss, any questions of any of the state representatives here?
Yes, along the same lines you were talking about some of the Spanish people. Have we done anything to map people or map areas with disabled people, so we're reaching out to them and getting that information, whether it be a communication problem or whether it be a disabled situation? You said you had people going door to door, right? Have we tried to get them needs out there also, we can continue to provide them services? So
we have a list of access and functional needs, and that was a list that I had mentioned earlier. We pulled from multiple sources. And those sources come from, you know, the local EOC and the local different organizations that feed that information to them. Part of their job at the local emergency operations center, outside of an emergency or disaster, is to ensure that they have those connections with those with access functional needs or other issues that may prevent them from getting the assistance they need. As far as mapping them out, the list that we have, there are maps, and they have those so they can make sure the drivers get to where they have to go. As far as mapping out, you know, population base, I can't say that I have a map saying that this is this type of community, this is this type of community. I don't know if my local counterparts have that information. I know they know their area. The local emergency management coordinator is actually under the sheriff's department, and you know, they know the communities, and also there's a Flint city representative in the EOC that would assist with getting that information.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Grant. You mentioned that you have 9 nurses coming on board very soon.
They've already been hired, yes.
And when are they going to be in the school districts? And does that cover all the school districts at that point?
So there, you know, one thing that we've been cognizant of both with health services and nutrition pieces.
So the king ordered his men into battle, and even though he was no longer acting in their best interest, they followed obediently. But what if they didn't? What if they just refused? What if selfish leaders got no support? What if people had the courage to stand up when something wasn't right? What if the government didn't just serve a lucky few? What if it was designed and run for all the people, no matter what race, color, or creed? What if we didn't put up with anything less? What if?
No more pencils, no more books. No more teachers, dirty looks.
School's out!
For summer.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org because great things happen when we live united.
WFOV.
Why can't we?
Flint, Michigan.
Why not?
Our voices. Our voices. WFOV.
What would happen if we...
WFOV.
How many times have I said,
I've got the solution.
not everybody's bad?
Why can't we work together?
WFOV.
Our voices.
Our voices.
WFOV. You know what the problem is?
I heard a guy on the radio.
There's other
Our
communities.
voices. I like to hear it.
WFOV.
I heard
WFOV.
What? WFOV.
Our voices. 259-978 Flint's newest radio
Our
station. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The
Our
Good
voices.
News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789. That's 259-9789. It's Our Voices. Located right here in Flint, Michigan. The Good News Radio. If you're interested in getting involved, having your own show, or just supporting the station, give us a call at 259-9789.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.